Welcome back to the Childhood Cancer Perspective, and thank you so much for sticking with me through all these episodes as I continue to detail the journey of our daughter JC and her diagnosis of choroid plexus carcinoma. In the past few months, I've been able to organize a large army of organizations and families to be able to tell their stories and their missions and share them with the childhood cancer community. And one such person that I was able to meet on TikTok, which is a love it or hate it app. And I remember actually the very first video that I ever saw. He was driving in his car, and back when TikTok wasn't so anal about that kind of stuff, and recording a video. And the one thing that I always remember him saying is, "We've got you." And I remember commenting on that, and it started a friendship of being able to kind of connect on a more personal level as his daughter Ariana, who we know as Anna, was going through her cancer treatments in the hospital, and being able to watch her start an organization. So today I'm going to introduce her father and have him tell us a little bit about her and their story and everything they've been able to do. And so, Rob, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Curtis. What's up, Mongo? So my name is Robert Labella. I am Ariana Labella, or like he said, everybody goes, his dad. She was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma at the age of 9, and we lost her August 2nd, 2022, from the disease. Um, Curtis, here's a funny story. Curtis and his family gave Anna one of her first boxes. Actually, that's another thing that we have in common because of him and his journey. My daughter wanted to do a lot of cool things too, so they welcomed me into the family.
Absolutely. And this is absolutely one of the strongest, and I'm not of one of. It is the strongest community that I've ever been a part of. It's a community that nobody wants to be in, but a community that we would fight to the death for anybody part of it. And these kids are so incredibly strong and innocent. The innocence is what I think makes them so incredible because while they know what's going on, they choose to care about everybody else versus what they're going through at that time. So that's one thing that I want to hear more about. I'm also, if everybody notices, I've got Tim here, my special co-host for the episode. They also share a special relationship. There is a connection with Ewing sarcoma. But introduce yourself as well and how you're connected to this amazing, crazy family.
So I'm Tim, and I'm the social media director for Battle Corn Care Packages. And much like all of us we met through social media. How I met actually Rob was he posted a video originally about wanting to do something for a veteran that was going through treatments, and long and behold, we find out his daughter was also going through it. So our connection was he was actually trying to do something for somebody else that was going through something, and friendship just blossomed from there. His daughter had a wish list, and I want to say we paid off that wish list in like 3 minutes on TikTok. Like she was actually in the hospital. Um,
Two, 2 minutes and
yeah,
42 seconds, if I
so
recall.
and she was actually in the hospital at that time, and the friendship just I mean it just grew from there, and I've actually had the honor and privilege of meeting them. I got to meet Anna as part of like a Make a Wish trip in Disney. I got to hang out with her. Um, yeah, it's just yeah, and we've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
So
So there's one thing you said, Curtis, that we were actually told when Anna first got diagnosed is welcome to the family you wish you never needed. And at first, I put my head down like, no, let's just get through this. We can beat this. Let's go. It's our problem. We'll deal with this. And how fast that changed. And it did. When you go in with the wrong mindset, and then you actually take a look. I'm not my brother who's sitting right there, Curtis. You're my other brother. I mean, you guys have been on some very, very dark, disturbing phone calls. Yeah, you know what I mean. You guys have been there more than blood. So it's well that where they say welcome to the family. That's not a lie. You wish you never needed it, but you're grateful for what you have.
yeah, it's 100%. And what to kind of go off of what you said as well. getting a diagnosis like this when it comes to a kid, what you'll see is that the people that are surrounding you, often 99% of those people are not blood, and they are closer to you than those people that you should have next to you in your life. The people that you meet in this community are your ride or die. And it's a
Yeah.
shame. And you notice a lot of community support, but you also notice in our case, when somebody passes away, that support seems to go away very, very quickly, and you really only have a handful of people that stick around you, and those are the people that are there for the right reasons, and not just because, as my wife would say, they're there to watch the freak show. Now the show is over, so they don't want to be a part of it anymore, and they can't claim that, well, I was there and I helped. Now they could give a shit, and that's a shame. I don't think a lot of people
Right.
understand that. I think we need more support after a child or a person passes than we did during, because now we're trying to figure out how to live our life without that person here.
Agreed. Agreed 100%.
So I want you to tell us who Anna was.
Well, I have a big head of my big head. This is my Anna. This is
That
my
is
love
absolutely
bug.
phenomenal.
That's buddy.
I love just that goes to show who she is. That dimple right there. She has had since she was a baby. It's this is her. This is who she was. And outgoing, happy-go-lucky, brave, beautiful, absolutely beautiful, kind-hearted kid. Um, she was yeah, she was pretty damn amazing. So a funny story, when she was younger at school, they had what's called the buddy bench. The buddy bench is where a kid that has nobody to play with sits down on recess, and kids pick them up to play. My daughter guarded that thing. Nobody sat down. If they looked like they were going to be sitting, she was already over getting them. She wanted to make sure that nobody ever felt alone. That's who she was. And I'm talking um, 5, 6 years old, a pure child. She was just, she, she would brighten up any room. Doesn't matter what she's going through, she always had a damn smile on her face. And yeah, that's just who she was. She, yeah, this is one of those times, Curtis.
Mm-hmm. You're good, man. You're good. You're good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was cool. Um, she loves sports. I got to be the privilege of being her soccer coach from U6 all the way to U10. That was a great experience. She was my little goalie. She she was just very outgoing. Um, Now when she hit not 8 to 9, she wanted to do softball, so she did her first year of softball. Well, we're on July 4th. Um, um, 5 years ago, and it was actually 5 years this year. Where I had my niece over, we went to water safari on the 5th. Um, we came home, they were asleep. She comes in the room, kept crying, seeing her shin, like her calf hurt, like a Charlie horse. I'm sorry, her thigh. And told her to just calm down, relax, drink some water. She just got done doing heavy activities, and she went to a water park, running around doing slides, so thought pulled muscle. Well, next morning my wife told me to go bring her up to the emergency room just to get it checked out. You know, I took my niece with us. We were having fun. We were all horsing around. I was making the doctors and nurses laugh. I made the security guard laugh at us. You gotta make it fun. They took one X-ray. They brought her back to the room. Then they pulled me into a room. The moment they did that, I knew something was wrong. Um, Um, they let us know that Albany Med is on standby with an oncology team. They wanted to give her an ambulance ride, but we had to get Carter situated, drop my niece off. We had to get things prepped, but we literally went straight from there, went to the hospital. Um, the whole time she had no idea what's going on. We weren't going to say nothing. We didn't know, so why worry her? I'm making it fun for her. We're all goofing around. They brought game systems for us. We wouldn't let the doctors into the room. If they wanted to talk to us, they pulled us out of the room. Nothing was discussed in front of her. At 9 years old, not knowing what's going on, I need her mind to be clear, you know. Um, then we met Dr. Pierce. She is very known for the Ewing sarcoma family at the hospital. Top amazing doctor. She said it could either be osteosarcoma or Ewing sarcoma. And just let us know that either way it's going to be a long road, but it can be beneficial. And on July 8th, 5 years ago, we got told she got diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma. She had a softball sized tumor on the inside of her pelvic bone. So, for those who don't know about Ewing sarcoma, it's a rare aggressive bone cancer. Could either metastasize or localize. Localize being in one specific area. There is no treatment. There's only prolongment. Um, the last time anything was ever introduced for the Ewing sarcoma family was for a grown-ass man about my size, and I'm not a small guy, and they dumbed it down for a child. Um, Dr. Pierce, though, she was very optimistic. We did radiation, we did chemo. Um, to go more into depth about Anna, when she just did her first 5 day stay of chemo, she literally just got done losing her hair. And that is, Curtis knows that happens very quickly after treatment. Um, she was gifted a chemo bag, and she was so enlightened, and all she wanted to do was make chemo for other kids in her situation. Now we're talking less than a week of treatment going through this herself. She wanted to do this for others. Dr. Pierce, we have a campground called the Triple H Campground. It's a medical facility campground for kids that normally can't do things. They find a way to make it happen. Um, they had extra funding, so Dr. Pierce got with us and her volunteers, and they asked Anna what they would want in them, and she made a list, and they went out and got it without her knowing about it. Sicker than a dog, she has chemo bags hung up. They brought pizza, so over in our unit, right next door to the child oncology department, the D7 unit, they have a Ronald McDonald family house. It's not a natural house, it's just a rest area for Ronald McDonald families. They allowed us to have in there everything. Did a pizza party, sick as hell. I mean, really sick. Her platelets dropped. The next day, she actually got transfusions. Um, Hanging with her chemo bag hanging, she made 25 chemo bags, and every single chemo bag had her own little special note inside. None of us got to see what they were. She put them inside every single one of the bags, and she had the biggest smile on her face. And when I tell you sick, she was getting sick in it, but still, no lie. This is very graphic, but she still had the drool from the puke and smiling because we just got done setting it up. And she got to turn her head and saw all the bags. And they blew up from there. And she actually started on a Sunflower Warriors. because of stuff like that. But that's who she was. She was just an inspiration.
That's it's an incredible story, and one that we hear I think a lot. It is the fact that what they're going through and literally going through it at that moment, and they're still thinking about other people. They don't have. I really don't think these kids, they're lacking a gene, or they're lacking something in their body that helps them fight off cancer. But I think what they have that we lack is the ability to just shut off everything else that's going on in the world and not let it affect them in the ways that we let it affect them. They don't have the ability to get road rage, and they don't have the ability to get pissed off at stupid things and words and pictures and whatever. They just want to love and be loved, and they want everybody else to to be happy in what they're going through. When JC got a box in the hospital that very first trip, and we got home and decided this is what we need to do. We need to give back to people that gave back to us so much at that moment, and she loved it. When she was sick, coming home from chemo,
Mhm.
weak, right? They basically taken everything out of you and then sent you home and hope that you feel better. Do we have any boxes to do, Dad? Do we have any that we can do? And you that was that innocence. That was, I'm going through hell. I'm going through absolute hell, but I still want to make sure other people are happy. As adults, we're
Exactly.
we're sissies, man. I'm sorry, but we get, the man flu is a real damn thing,
You
right? We
can't.
can all
You,
agree.
you,
I just said it.
you can't.
The man flu is a real fucking thing, okay? It is. And we bitch, and we flick people off in traffic.
Damn right.
You know what I mean? And whatever, the crap, the house doesn't get clean and we get pissed, and somebody at work doesn't do their job and we lose our minds. Who cares? You get a perspective
Oh
on
yeah.
life when you go through this. And I've also said to everybody that I've ever met, if you have the opportunity for 5 minutes to speak to one of these kids, I don't care how old they are, just speak to them and let them talk to you. It will change your life forever. You don't have to know them. You don't have to know their story. You don't have to be related. Just speak to them. It'll change your life. These kids will give you a perspective that's like, what the hell are we so angry about? What are we so worried about? Let's just be nice and be good to each other, because, for the worst way to put it is, you don't know how long you have here. And we spend so much time upset and angry, and people that don't
Yep.
value the life of a child and don't value life in general, you know what? You're truly missing out on something incredible with these kids.
I think I don't know if this makes sense, but it's like adults, we have sympathy where kids have true empathy. Like they really feel like
No, that's well said right there. Because yeah, what these kids go through, I'm 37 years old. I couldn't do what they did. My daughter had a cage over her head for radiation. I couldn't be inside of one of the machines for 10 minutes to have my head scanned without freaking out. I can't do that.
I'm
But they're pure. They don't look at things like that. They don't look at what I can't do. They look at, I have to do this. I'm going to do this. Let's get it done. That's, I can't do what they do. And not only that, I'm a dick, so I can't really be pure like that.
No, it's incredible what we place value on as adults, and what we place value over things that are important. It's a sad, the side effects that you get from chemo, and the side effects that we all as parents, we have to sign off on, and we're talking books and books of just side effects, with one page at the very bottom where you have to sign away and say this may all happen. And a lot of them are, what, your hair's going to fall out, you may not be able to have kids, you could lose your vision, you could lose your hearing, cognitive delays, all this kind of stuff. When JC's hair fell out, her answer to that was, well, at least I don't have to brush it anymore. When she was told, you may never have kids, I'll just adopt. That's how they think. That's how they adapt. You know what I'm saying? How they
100%.
adapt this stuff. We're like, oh my God, we've got to do something. We've got to do something. They gave us the opportunity. at 8 years old to harvest her eggs so that she could someday down the road. And my wife, fit,
We did that
but it
too.
was like one of those things where we're not going to put her through this. We're not going to put her through something like that. If she's not putting that much value on it, we just want her here, and she just wants to be here. But that's, I just there, we put so much on so many things that just don't have an effect on us, but we worry about them, and they don't.
So, if you're okay with this, I'm going to touch base on what you said. So, Anna, well, we got told that once we started the radiation, she won't ever have the opportunity to have kids, because of her location. Um, we talked to her, and one of the biggest things she wanted to be a good mom when growing up. So she said the same exact thing that JC said. It's yeah, I'll adopt. There's kids out there that need love. But when we got talking to her, we wanted to let her know that there was an option for her to do the harvest of the eggs, or if she wants that opportunity, and she did take it. Unfortunately, her body was already too weak at that time, and she was too young, so nothing came about it. But she wasn't upset. See, we were in the office, we're crying. She looked over at us and she goes, "Hey, we tried, but you know what? I could always adopt." She would not a tear in her eye, not a care in the world. She already had the answer. We're devastated for her, but she wasn't. That changed our mindset. Because I'll be honest, so earlier I said that, doctors and everything, they were always outside the door. But after she got diagnosed, we didn't lie to her. We told her every part that's going to suck. We allowed her to ask every single question in the book. We did our own research. Don't recommend it, by the way. Don't recommend at all. Um, but we never lied to her. We gave her choices. We let her make her decisions. I mean, obviously, let's be realistic, if it's a life saving decision, we're making that call, but we're going to have her a part of it. Yeah, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's just, so going back to what you were saying, they're just pure. We were devastated. She was okay, no problem. Think like that at 8 years old. I can't do that at 37. I just, when you talk to the kids, when Curtis says it'll change your life, your whole perspective, he's not wrong. The things that used to irritate me, I don't care. I'm not afraid of anything except for heights, fat guy that belong on ground.
Great.
But besides that, I'm not afraid of anything in life. I've already experienced my hell. I've already watched I already watched an 8-year-old go through it until she was 12, just shy of her 13th birthday. Nothing fears me. I've already been through it. But these kids, though, man, it's watching the success stories is what helps. That helps.
Yeah, and success stories. And I don't know if you experience it too, but with us, mm, after JC passed, success stories became few and far between, not because they weren't happening, but because people were afraid to share them with us, because they were afraid of
Yeah.
making us feel bad, which I understand, and it makes sense. It does. And survivor's guilt is a real thing that people deal with. These kids deal with
Mhm.
it, which sucks. And we've had to talk to people and say, listen, you shouldn't feel bad for surviving. You shouldn't feel bad for these victories, and we want you to celebrate these victories, because when you celebrate them, it means that there is progress. It means that there is hope. And yes, our daughters are not here with us anymore, but they are. You know what I mean? They're not physically here. We won't get to see them grow up, and we won't get to see all the amazing things that we know they would have accomplished. But I truly feel in my heart that our daughters are contributing to these other warriors continuing to move forward. And they're there with them, holding their hands and making sure that they're okay. And if for some reason these warriors have to lay their swords down, they're there to welcome them with open arms and make sure that they're safe and okay. So I want you to share your success stories. I want you to celebrate and scream it from the rooftops because you deserve it. Don't ever feel bad about surviving. You shouldn't.
No, no, you should not. You celebrate those wins because I'll be right there celebrating them with you. I'll be your loudest cheerleader. I'm all for it. Just because our stories were written differently doesn't mean that all the kids should have that. If that makes sense. Yeah, and they're guiding them. They're guiding them through treatment when they're scared. Anna has even said it. When those nights that are really bad nights, feels things. Yeah, and that's them letting them know, hey, we're right here. And like you said, guiding them afterwards, like you, that's what I believe into. My daughter had to be taken from me for a good reason, and the only other reason I could come up with is to help other kids guide and go there. Be free, be happy. So, yeah, no, I agree with everything you say, sir.
You're looking at me like you got a question.
I no, I'm just listening. I'll chime in when it's appropriate. I'm here.
All right. I thought he had something to say.
Well, you talk about how like bringing people together. Your wife likes to say that you and I were brought together by opposable forces as well.
Yeah.
That through Victoria and JC that they brought me in, and I don't know what they were thinking, and
Well,
I'll question it one day. But yeah,
It's cool because I remember when you guys first got together, and now you guys are such a cute couple.
well, that took a turn. You want to write that edit? Write that one down. Oh, it always goes sideways.
no, you guys
Edit.
are no, you guys are absolutely amazing together. You guys are a force to reckon with. And because of you guys, a lot of changes have been made. I mean, in comparison to where they were to where they are now, you guys have definitely made a huge impact into that. And from a father in this world, I appreciate that. Getting that word out there. You guys do absolutely amazing things. And don't ever sell you guys self short for that. And TikTok created that, so
yeah, it's definitely a love hate relationship with that
Well,
application. But yeah, it's definitely allowed us to do
yeah.
and meet some of the most amazing people. I mean, I obviously I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for it. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do all the things that we've done. We wouldn't be donating the 25, last 2 years, been able to do what we've done. So
yeah. No, it's
You guys have done amazing things. Not only that, but Curtis with the legislators and trying to get bills passed and to having our kids be heard because our numbers and stats are ridiculous. We don't need to go into them, but they're absolutely ridiculous. And you're trying to make change for that. You're pursuing that change, and that's that's absolutely amazing.
we it's definitely something that's humbling, and it's one of those things where the fight is, I think it's kind of just beginning. It's never really going to end, and I constantly try to bring up the fact that this is about it's about making change for the future, but it's really about keeping my daughter's legacy alive, and everybody that she's ever touched in this world, and people that I've never met, that I've never spoken to, some that I don't even know their names, have reached out to me in the past 3 years to tell me what JC has done for them and how she has helped them. And and so I can't, in good faith, ever let that stop, let that go away. And running a nonprofit, running through legislation and all these people, it is tiring and stressful, and it is often very, very unforgiving, but it's a necessary evil. And it's like I said in the beginning, this is a family that we were thrown into that we didn't want to be a part of. That I think all of us in this world are essentially guilty of not really thinking is that big of a community. And now that we're part of it, we absolutely have got to do something to make it different, to make it change. Our daughters are not here with us physically. We don't get to experience them going to high school, to college, having boyfriends and jobs and grandkids and doing stupid shit that we did as kids.
Still do.
Absolutely, it gets worse when you get older. But doing that, they don't get to experience that stuff. And to be honest with you, that anger inside of me because I don't get to have that is what drives a lot of this. And it's not something that's going to stop. And I've told legislators before, I love to hear the word no, and that might sound crazy, but I love to hear it because it just makes me want to fight harder. It just makes me realize that I need closer allies. And when I find those allies that are going to be the ones that are going to ride with me to the top, I promise you that if you think your political career is taking off now, I will make it fucking soar. That's all you've got to do is stick with me through this issue that nobody thinks is real, that nobody thinks is a problem. And we bring this up in every single episode. We never say the name, but we always say the commercial people. When the commercial people have taken over this world and that's the only place that we put our research dollars, the only place that we put our all of our eggs in one basket, are we curing anything? No. We're curing stuff, but you're flipping the script. You're saying you've got 80%. You know what 80% cure rate means? That means that
Well,
they're going to live 5 years. That's what it means.
can I be honest with you on something to
Yep.
add on to that? So the reason why they are 80% cure rate is because they also will not take anybody new that has a low expectancy. I
Yeah.
can't say the word of survival rate. So we went there for a second opinion, and we literally got told your daughter's going to die. Albany is doing more for you than we would even know they're doing. I'm sorry, we can't take her. And that is no lie. I have
So,
documentation
so,
on
so
that.
then I have a question. This is where I'll chime in. So obviously, my connection with the cancer world is through my fiance Victoria, an adult. You know, um, but I have daughters, and how do you sit there and if somebody says that, like, my first knee jerk reaction, and even as an adult, when those doctors were in there with Victoria, like, I mean, I tried to get, I mean, it is what it is. How do you attain? Like, how does that make you feel as you're being sit there and you're being told that, look, we're not gonna do anything. There's nothing like that's we're not even gonna try because if how that's right. Real question. There you go.
Well, so
Cure
I'll
rate.
tell you exactly. We didn't have a personal experience with them, but I will tell you that it's the same as um, when JC was having a lot of problems towards the end. She was unable to swallow. She couldn't speak to us anymore. They thought it was something else. They thought it was a sickness that she had. And so what they did instead of fixing it is they life flighted us, $45,000 45-minute life flight to Milwaukee to tell us there was nothing more they could do. To sit in a room with a doctor and about six nurses essentially blocking the door with my wife and I and showing us on the screen, well, you can see that it's starting to spread. There's nothing more we can do. Why the fuck are we here? You could have told me that when we were home. You could have told me that when we were at this other hospital that was only 30 minutes from my house and not 2 hours. You could have told us that. So, to be honest with you, the only reason why that doctor didn't get picked up by his face is because I was in shock. I was in absolute shock. And that my wife, Trish, had got up and walked out of the room because she doesn't show emotions a lot. She really doesn't. And when it hits her like that, she got up and walked out of the room. And I sat there in shock. And not a lot of words came out. And the only thing I was able to say is, we're taking her home. for signing her out for taking her home. That was it. The shock was the only thing that stopped anything bad from happening.
We I remember getting the news. To this day, the hardest part was having to sign a DNR for your child. No parent should ever have to do that. We so we got news that um sorry. So Anna, after her first round, had good success. We got told, you know, there's no evidence of disease. It's not cured, but NED for us is a big win. About 3 months later, she was complaining that her knee was hurting her, and they only wanted to scan the original site. And I threw a stink. No, I need the knee scanned. And I literally put up such a hassle that security, everybody else was coming there. I was bouncing between oncology and the bone experts. I told them I wasn't leaving there until I got scanned, her knee scanned. Um, they couldn't do it that day, but got me in first thing in the next morning. So I drove all the way back up to Albany. It's an hour and 20 minutes from my house. Got up, scanned, sure as shit. She had multiple lesions. So then we did a PET scan. And Mongo, you were actually on the phone the day I got the results. Um, she had them in her skull and her back and her knees and on her arm. So I'm metastasized. We got told that, hey, time to spend time with her. So I like to go out on FMLA. Not so actually before that, I apologize. We did a Disney trip. Got to go with. Um, um, so we did the whole Disney trip, magical time. The whole entire time she had a broken femur because the tumor grew so large and it cracked her femur. Mongo, could you tell that it was
No,
broken?
no, this girl was. I mean, yeah. The whole time we were in Disney, I keep saying everybody says Disney's so damn magical, but I can't tell you a damn thing about Disney. I really couldn't. I know there were some characters running around. There's some other shit going on. But no, it was. I mean, Anna just she was the whole time was smiling, laughing, and just yeah, it was amazing. As a matter of fact, she spent the whole time looking around to buy things for other people. She wanted to make sure that everybody that was close to her had a souvenir from Disney. This is her make a wish. And
And
she's going
yeah,
around looking for things for other people, like not even for herself. Matter of fact, I think she got mad because there was a necklace she wanted, and your wife went and got it. And she's
it's-
like, "Why did you do that?" Like,
yeah. So it was the Pirates of
yeah,
the
yep.
Caribbean. She was looking at it, and we got upset with her and told her, "This is your trip. There is no. Whatever you want, you're going to get. I don't care. You want it." So Jesse went all the way back, and it's now actually hanging on my lamp next to a picture with her there. And yeah, we got mad at her, but she was about literally everybody, everything.
And we watched the
But
fireworks,
yeah,
and I got some pictures that Rob is jealous of. That's right, I said it.
very, very. But it was, so from that time frame, we got told a year and a half, and it was less than 6 months. Actually, my birthday is coming up, which is July 22nd. I was in the barber shop. So June 12th, I apologize, let me back up. June 12th, I left to go out on FMLA leave. On June 19th, we went back up to the hospital because her back was hurting her really, really, really bad. Um, so we went back up. They did PET scans. She was just covered. So they were trying to do radiation on the one on her back tumor. to relieve some of the pressure because it was pressing on her spine. She was just in really, really amount of pain to the point where she was medically induced coma, morphine. She had patches, um, so much, and to the point where we got trained in Narcan in case she too much. That's how bad it was. Um, on July 22nd, I was in the middle of getting my hair cut. We were expected to talk to Dr. Pierce that day, but later on, Dr. Pierce called us in. Um, her breathing was going really shallow. It was a matter of days. So on my birthday, I had to sign over a DNR. We were going to go tell her afterwards what had happened, but so weak to the point where she couldn't move, barely kept her eyes open. Okay, barely kept her open. She got her child life specialist to decorate her room for me. Her card sitting right there. And she decorated her room. She was more worried about that. So we couldn't obviously tell her. So on July 23rd, we told her. On that day, I watched the fear. It, Fast forward a couple of days, she did a lot of sleeping, which helped her. You know, every time she woke up, hi baby, I love you. You okay? You want anything? Do you need anything? She she had a really shallow breathing to the point where they had to cross nurse it. And she snapped out of it in fear. The fear I saw was something that's burned into my brain. I'll never forget that. We thought I was going to lose her that day. We wanted to bring her home. We were talking with the doctor, and you know, you still have hope. Even when the doctor is telling you things, you still have hope. So I told her I wanted to bring her home. You know, we'll watch movies. I know what's going to happen. We're going home on hospice. I'm stupid, but I want my kid to feel that positive that she always is. Uh, the day we were supposed to go home, um, we were doing a hand mold. So we were going to do a family hand mold. She did one of her and her brother. And she wasn't coherent, but she was coherent. She was responsive to me. I'll ask her if it's gooey. She shook her head. Yeah. Is it cold? Yeah. Are you uncomfortable? No. You know I love you, right? Yeah. Yeah. Um, so hospice was supposed to show up at 10:30. So we're trying to rushing get this the hand mold, and as we were getting everything prepped, doctor came in, said she's not going to make it. She's not going to make it. And said it was at any time. We all grabbed her hand to do this hand mold. Me, Jesse, Carter, and just about to put it in the mold. Started asking me. So I looked at it. Our chairlift specialist, get Carter off. They watched her take her last breath August 2nd. But from the time of all that enjoyment, Mongo, I mean, you got to admit, we had an absolute amazing time
Oh, yeah. I
in
mean,
Florida.
you and I are Mark. We're not only am I tattooed with you, Curtis. You and I have some funny tattoo, but me and him as well. We went and got matching sunflower ears because Anna with Ewing sarcoma, Victoria, with Ewing sarcoma. And the day before we left Florida, somehow we got into a tattoo shop, and the guy was just he was down for it. He was like, "Yeah, let's do this," and we got matching tattoos. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there was no telling that Anna had anything as far as the broken bone and like that. I always forget what that place is. It's if what's the
Gave kids
yeah.
the world.
She was playing in the pool, and she was still. I remember when I showed up there, she was sleeping, and I told her to get her ass up, get outside. She came outside, and she was out walking
Yeah,
around. I mean, she's just just as normal as if as could be. Like you wouldn't really think, short of if I would say that if she didn't have the spot on her head from the rate from that there was no indication that there was anything going on with her because she was just smiling, happy go lucky, like just wanted to just do anything and everything, and just I mean yeah, being around her just made you yeah yeah there it is yeah I mean she just
There it is.
she
it's
oh yeah
contagious.
um yeah she had this aura to her that just let you know that everything was going to be all right. So to back it up a little bit, Rob, in while we were in Florida, we went out to eat. It was us, Mama T, a couple other people, and your wife got a phone call, and I actually have a video of this. Uh, your wife had gotten a
Yeah.
phone call from a certain place letting you know that Anna had been accepted into a clinical trial. You want to talk about that?
So before, so we'll back it all the way up. On the day of the Disney trip, um, we were trying to get into a clinical trial at Sloan Kettering, Kettering. Um, it's to attack the the DNA sequence because Ewing sarcoma, the reason why it's not curable is because the body thinks it's a once the chemo does its job on the tumor, the body's trying to rebuild that tumor, so they think it's part of the DNA sequence. So it's an enzyme that wraps it, encases it, so it basically stops it. It showed some positive things to it. We got the phone call then that, hey, you're going to be able to do this. We were so excited, positive, like this is our ticket. This is what's going to do it. If anybody could do it, it's her. She could do this. Then when we had to redo the PET scan, how fast that got taken away from us. They said that they can't risk the number outcome because of her condition. Already basically telling us she's too far gone before weekend. They didn't even give her a
So
chance.
it's either they're not bad enough or they're too you got to find that Goldilocks moment, huh? Whereas this is just right.
Yeah. Clinical trials, you can't
Yeah.
be healthy and you can't be too sick. Somehow you've got to be right in the middle where, again, yeah, it doesn't affect your numbers or they get the most positive outlook on whatever they're trying to do. Because obviously clinical trials are meant to turn into full-blown drugs and treatments that they can use down the road, and the last thing they want to do is fuck it up with somebody that they don't think it's going to make a difference on. And that's the sad thing about clinical trials is that there are There are plenty of clinical trials out there. As a matter of, I mean, clinicaltrials.gov, there's hundreds. You can go look them up based on your diagnosis, based on all of that, but it all requires that you are a certain length into your treatment, that you are healthy enough to withstand the testing just to get in. Clinical trials are kind of like cancer, are like a real fickle bitch. There's no there is a sweet spot that you want to be a part of, but and even as parents going through this kind of stuff or anything like that, you see a small window of hope. You're taking that small window of hope, um, understanding that the drugs are not yet approved, or the cocktail is not yet approved, and you're taking part in something that has shown positive outcomes and things like that. But you've got to be in just.
It's
Yeah, it
false hope.
absolutely is. Um,
And coming to find out, her clinical trial, they actually ended it last year. So the clinical trial wasn't even successful.
Yeah, but I think I've heard you say, if even if there's a 2% chance, so you're gonna take that 2% because there's a that
Oh, it's oh,
chance of what's gonna happen if you don't. You know,
absolutely.
2%, or I mean,
yep.
and I think that's for anybody.
We get as listen, that's what we are. We're cancer parents, and we get this all the time. Your kid is super sick. They're in the hospital. They look weak and they frail, and they're having their quality of life sucks. There's no way to put it out there. Their quality of life, not their attitude. Their quality of life sucks. So we get asked as parents, or told as parents, how can you put them through that? How can you take that risk? How can you do this? Because if you came to us with a giant stack of paper and said, there's a 98% chance that none of this is going to work, but there's a 2% chance that it might, are we then, we are
I'm taking the
parents.
2%.
We are not fit to be parents if we say, okay, well, we're just not going to try that because 2% is not enough for that. Fuck that. 2% is way more than enough that I need to know that if I don't, because like you said, there's 100% chance we know exactly what's going to happen if we do nothing. We're taking.
And let me ask you this, Curtis. Knowing what you knew with your daughter, JC had a beautiful, happy life,
Right.
correct? She's experienced things that technically normally she wouldn't, but she still was a happy, got to have adventures, got to do
Yeah.
things. What's the difference? If we prolong our kids' lives even for 6 months, 2 weeks, I'll
Yeah.
take it. I'll take
Well,
it.
it's a hunt. There's no amount there's no amount that anybody could ever say to me that's going to be like, well, you did this wrong and you did this wrong, and if you'd have done this, you don't know that. You have no idea. You have no idea what would have made a difference, if it would have made a difference, if it would have made it worse. My wife and I still have the debate, not argument, but debate, whether, because when JC was going through it, when she got through her 30 rounds of radiation, they told us she's NED. We do not need to do chemo. We don't recommend doing chemo. We were elated, jumping up and down at this. Like, she beat this. We don't have to worry about it. Maybe the debate is, well, if we would have done chemo, would it have made a difference? My answer is always, we gave her months of not having to worry about hospitals, not having to worry about anything. And I wouldn't take that away from her for anything in the world. So
She's got to be a
so it's
kid.
like, would it have made a difference? We have no idea. Would it have changed the outcome? Honestly, probably not. But there's no way to tell any of that. But that 2%, absolutely, we're taking that 2% all day long, because you say we're not going to risk it at 2%. I truly don't believe.
Well, I mean, not only that. I mean, you don't know how you're gonna react until you're in that situation. Like somebody, like I've always said, don't know what it's like at all. So a lot of times, you guys, we've all seen it, the medical experts that are online and everything else, but you don't know how you're going to react to a situation until it's your life, until it's in front of you. So who is anybody to tell anybody that whether they did something wrong, right, and like it's all a roll of the dice. I mean,
It can't. I can't writing telling us exactly what causes cancer, especially pediatric cancer, which they do not know. telling us what causes it or what makes it worse or what makes it better, all this kind of shit is honestly it's the same logic as people writing books on how to raise your kids that are usually written by people that have never had kids. Like let's just be honest about it. Telling us, well, it's if you wouldn't have eaten this your whole life. Well, you know what? I ate the same thing. I grew up in the 80s. I ate fucking dirt. Okay, you have no idea. I grew up under power lines, and
Our Hot Wheels
you're
have lead paint on.
you're damn right they did, and you licked it.
Oh, I got told because I live next to Remington Army Gun Factory that's why my daughter
That,
had
that
cancer.
makes sense. That's logic. That's logic that I see lining up.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes-
yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's an expert, and nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. And the reality of the situation is that most adult cancers, okay, not all, they can be linked to lifestyle. They can be linked to, uh, they can basically be linked to things that you can truly figure out.
Yeah.
Kids, there is no understanding as to why they happen. There's no understanding as to why Ewing sarcoma happened in a perfectly healthy 8-year-old girl. There's no understanding as to why a 6-year-old girl all of a sudden one day had a brain tumor and it affected everything. There's no rhyme or reason. It doesn't run in my family. There's no genetic predisposition to everything that she should have had that would have caused it. She didn't have. It makes no sense. And that's mainly the research to understand why this is happening is almost more important than the research to cure it. Because if we can find out why it's happening or why some kids are predisposed to it, or early detection, right? We early detect for breast cancer like it's going out of style, or even prostate cancer. They want to make sure early detection, fine. There's a doctor. I've had the conversation with another one of our friends, a doctor that said that she wished that she would have not irradiated or MRI'd a child.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I saw that.
Because
Yeah.
what if she develops cancer later in life? You caught neuroblastoma with an MRI that you wished you wouldn't have caught because it could have caused it later in life. You fucking caught it. You understand that the amount of and that makes as much sense as them putting on the lead jacket when I'm having standing there with our daughter. I could give a shit.
Right.
Okay, I'm not worried about me. Let's just get this done. But you know what? I really do believe that there should be early detection for children. MRIs and CTs should be an optional thing. When every time a kid has an annual exam, it should be an option for the parent. Do you want to put your kid through an annual exam or an annual CT or MRI? Maybe you don't, and that's fine.
Even a PET scan would help.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, doing a PET scan once a year or once every 2 years. Yeah, it's a little bit more intense, but
That was probably a rare case where nothing had to be done, and it kind of the issue it resolved itself. But she was, yeah, I was blown away by that.
And that's because that's the logic saying that, well, because it happened to them, it'll happen to somebody else. And the reality is that there are no two circumstances that are the right? Anna and Victoria, two different circumstances.
Yeah.
Different ages.
Yep.
Different locations in the world. Different lifestyles. Whatever. Different family histories. Everything is different, but yet same thing, same disease, right?
You know, the only thing that was probably the same between a 30-year-old woman and a 8-year-old kid, the treatments. I guarantee you, but Anna's treatments next to Victoria's, I bet you they'll line up. And that there's the only difference is maybe they watered it down, maybe they didn't.
Right.
But the actual treatments are exactly the same.
And honestly, it's when they give it to kids, I think the only difference is that they stretch it out over time. It's like a 12-hour drip into your arm versus going in within a couple hours. I think it's drained, it stretches out. The difference is we never saw everybody that we've ever met that's had JC's type of cancer. I have never seen two protocols exactly the same, never once. And that's part of the issue too, is that uh, we're not seeing the doctors that are supposed to be working for the greater good. And listen, a lot of them are really good, but some of them I think have gone off the beaten path, and they don't want to share that information. They want credit when things go great, but they sure as hell don't want to talk about it if it went wrong.
No.
And they don't want to give and the options. If you as a parent give an option to a doctor, they almost feel like you're stepping on their toes, like they feel insulted that you would have found research that they didn't know about. And it's time.
yeah, I I'm very fortunate with our doctor. Pierce. She's actually number 2 in the world for Ewing sarcoma. Before I even met her, that's why I always said don't do research. I did so much research. I did 2 pages back to back of just questions. And what was really cool is before I even met her, she gave the nurse my answers to all the questions in her research paperwork with a sticky note on top that says, I don't recommend doing your own, but here's what I would use. And she gave it to me. So I got our doctor, I got very blessed with. We were stupid close with. So it is all situational, unfortunately.